My guest this morning, which was booked in, blessed, been sitting patiently waiting, is Andrea. Andrea, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Mary. I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Oh, thank you. I'm very, very well, thank you, dear. I'm fabulous. Rosie nearly made a wreck of me this morning, with her story. But now you're a very, very different entity, because we had a chat on the phone, and I was going to have you in from a panel last week. But I thought, well, enough you told me all your bits and pieces. I thought, oh, you better come in on your own.
I don't know what that says about me.
Well, it says that you've got an awful lot to say. So. Now, what is it? You've written a book.
I have.
Now, There's a lot of people out there, that would love to know how to write a book, because we meet a lot of authors here, and it's lovely to have them in as guests. But what inspired you, and what was your book, and what's it called?
Okay, so starting with the inspired me bit, I had never thought of writing a book. I've always loved writing blogs, newsletters, you name it. But last summer, a friend of mine came over from New Zealand, and she said, I said I was going to write a development program for leaders.
Right.
And she said, no, don't write a program, write a book. I was like, okay, what do you mean write a book? She said, write the book first, then write a program. Okay, I'll write the book. Not really knowing what I was getting myself into at all. Yeah. So I kind of fiddled around with it for a few months, not really knowing how to write a book, not knowing where to start, didn't really have a sense of how to get going. And then suddenly, probably from December onwards, it all fell into place. And I wrote 500 words a day, minimum, every day.
Gosh,
in December.
That's a lot.
And finished on the 7th of April.
Wow.
70,000 words.
Did you read a book, or did you read something on how to write a book?
I read bits and pieces of all sorts of things, but there was no definitive how to do it. It was just a conversation I had around how do you do this with somebody else who'd written a book.
Sure.
And he said, what you need to do is just sit down, and even if you don't know what to write, just write down, I don't know what to write. And if it creates 500 words, you've done your 500 words a day. But you'll never ever get to the point of not knowing what to write, because when you're in it, you will be writing and writing and writing.
It just pours out of you then.
It absolutely does. The best writing I did was when I wasn't thinking about, I'm writing a book.
Yes.
It just came out of me.
Did you go to bed with the pad and pencil at the side of the bed?
No, not at all.
In case you woke up in the night with it?
No, I literally, but I wrote religiously every day. I mean, my dad was really sick at the time, and unfortunately he's passed away now, but I wrote every single day, no matter what was going on in my life, I still wrote, and I still allowed all the words to come out of me.
And that's a heck of an achievement, isn't it?
Yeah.
How many pages is this book?
250 pages.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, it's a proper book.
So when you read it back, did you read it? Because I must admit, I've read some stuff that I've written I had to read when I was going for like a business diploma, and when I read it back afterwards, I thought, did I write that? Do you get that feeling that did you write that, or
yes?
Did you do your own checking?
I did I have proofread it, and I've copy edited it myself and had others to do it. But to be honest, I had a point, it was almost like giving birth. And you kind of, if you've ever had children, you give birth and you sit there and you go, what do I do now? I've got this thing in front of me. I have no idea where that came from, how it got to be out here, and I really don't know what to do with it.
Andrea, do you have any children?
I have 2.
You do? You don't call them a thing then, for goodness sake.
They don't mind. They're used to that.
You've given birth. A lot of people do say that. They refer to it as when you've written a book, it's like giving birth to something.
Yeah, and it took me a good few weeks to bring myself to read it again. It was almost like I couldn't go back there. And when I did, I did get the, did I really write that?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. And I've been working with a guy to pull out quotes from it, and he said, normally there's a few, and he's got pages and pages of quotes. He said, there's just amazing things you've written in here. And I'm like, did I write that?
So give me a quote, give me an example. I have to ask, put you on the spot.
There's one I've been writing about in my blog this morning, which is around money. And the quote is about money itself is a neutral thing. It is just a neutral entity. It's your experience of money doesn't come from money, it comes from your thoughts about money.
Oh, you made me think now. Is that what it's for? Is it there to make you think, to challenge you?
It's definitely a book to make you think. It definitely challenges the status quo, the kind of normal way we approach things in our lives about how we develop ourselves in business. And it's just about turning everything on its head and saying, you know what? You can't blame circumstances and events and things for how you feel, because every feeling you have comes from every thought that you've created.
Oh, I say. I think you probably need to say that slower for me. Listening to what you said, what sort of a book would you categorise this as?
It's definitely positioned as a business book.
Right.
And my aim is really to have a message for business leaders and business owners about how they can operate differently, and how they can stop the overwhelm and the paralysis and the fear and anxiety that's in so many leaders and businesses in the UK and other parts of the Western world, and actually let go of needing to know more and do more, and get really connected with being, because that's what we are.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
So it's a very unusual mix of kind of business theory, and I do put a lot of development models and theories in there, and then I sprinkle in a really healthy dose of, do you know what? That all doesn't matter. And
I like that.
Why.
Yeah, I like that. I like that, because people do get very hung up on things, don't they?
Yeah.
And they're not terribly important, really.
Indeed, they're not.
When it comes to it, whenever you think, out of the whole, the universe and where things have to be lying and what you're prioritising is not always a priority you need to worry about.
Yeah, and letting go a lot is the theme of
letting go is great.
Yep, got to do it.
Letting go and delegating.
Yeah.
That's good. So what business are you in?
I do leadership development, coaching, executive team coaching. I do change management. So I go into businesses and help leaders bring change about themselves and people.
Are they still doing that? Is there still a call?
Oh,
because things go through fashionable trends, don't they?
Yep.
And because whenever the coaches first of all came out, well, there wasn't any coaches for centuries, and then obviously these coaches started to appear, and they said millionaires don't have coaches, billionaires do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
yep.
Which is what. So of course, any of the guys that are at the top all have sounding boards or mentors or somebody like that there that they bump ideas off before they put their necks in nooses, and you can understand that sort of makes sense of the whole thing.
Yeah.
So who would in a company now, is it somebody who's progressing well within a company would call in a coach?
Nowadays in companies, coaching starts everywhere. I mean, when I used to work in Thames Water in a corporate role, and we brought coaches. I brought coaches in to work with people in the call centre.
Yes, right.
And managers and supervisors that level, as well as right to the board level.
Yes.
And it was about using coaching as a development tool rather than coaching as the end in itself. It was about getting people to understand that they didn't have to find all the answers and spend loads of time kind of trying to be right, that actually just bouncing stuff off of someone else often opens up your thinking.
It absolutely does. Yes, and I think that's such a great idea, and people don't do that enough.
No, they don't.
And it also builds for better working partnerships as well.
We're wired to talk to other people. That's how we're made as human beings. We're not made as isolated people that just run around in bubbles. We're actually wired to talk to others and be in community. So all we're doing is replicating that, really.
John would renege with that as well too, because like you would into the communication world as well too, John. We've still got captured here, but you would understand exactly what Andrea is saying there.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. No, I think it's a wonderful concept actually, in terms of trying to put some business element very closely to some spiritual element, and there is a clear connection with that. And we spoke earlier about becoming centered and grounded within, and then allowing it to blossom.
Yeah, so that's the other. You don't need a coach to give you the answer. The whole point is around finding the answer through yourself.
Within yourself. I'm fed up saying that. I tell people that because whenever I get people come to me and ask about some of the things, and I said, you realise the answer is within you, and it's you that's blocking that answer from coming out. So what's your problems to get rid of? And then you will find your answer, because you're the only one with the knowledge.
And you're the only one creating the blockage, usually by your own thinking.
Yes.
So it's all those thinking, the thoughts you have around this might happen, that might happen, this happened last time, this happened.
What ifs?
What happens in the future if this happens? And all of that creates a real block, and it stops the flow of your natural wisdom.
And it's fear, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's fear. It comes down to that.
That's the experience of it, but it comes from your thinking. That fear experience, that feeling of fear, is only there because you've thought about those things and you've pulled in experiences or knowledge or beliefs about what's going to happen. And actually, nothing's going to happen apart from what's happening today, this minute.